Hello, hello, my beautiful souls. Welcome to the intuitive card reading for the week of June 22nd through 28th. You guys know what to do. Please like this video. Please share this video with anybody that needs to hear the energies and the influences of the week. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That would be really helpful for me. What else, guys? Comments down below. Love your comments. Love the feedback. I always like to know how these readings resonate with you guys as the collective. And then what else? Same three decks that you guys are familiar with. Oh, oops, I just dropped my water bottle. Well, that's not a sign about how the reading's gonna go. Okay, anyway. All right, let's just jump right into it. Like I said, the same three decks you guys are familiar, all shuffled in the order that feels intuitively aligned for this reading. All right, enough talking. Let's see what's going on. All right, untamed wilderness. All right, we need to feel a little bit more wild. We need to feel a little bit more untamed. We need to feel a little bit more liberated. We need to feel a little bit more free. So, as we know, this first one coming out is always about what our soul needs, but let's continue the rest of the reading, see what actually transpires this week. But you might be feeling a little restless. Maybe you need a vacation. Maybe you need to feel, maybe you've been feeling like you're unfree in some way, like maybe something is bogging you down or holding you back or something like that, and you're feeling a little, I think restless is actually a really good word for this. We need to be wild, go a little bit crazy, be a little bit more unstructured, be a little bit more type B versus type A kind of thing. So that's interesting energy to first start out with. Can't speak today. Let's keep going and see what else is up. All right, we have mother in the shadows, smothering or abandoning children, instilling guilt in children for becoming independent. Okay. Okay, so it's under action needed, but it's in the shadows. So basically it's saying like a not being, being in the shadow of the mother, instilling guilt, instilling shame, being, abandoning the child, all of that stuff. Okay, so, this could be literal, all right? So this could actually be, let me talk about the literal meaning here. It could actually mean that we need to take action on a toxic mother figure, maternal figure, okay? That could be the literal definition here, literal energy, okay? So maybe for some of you guys, that is what this is saying. I know that's a little specific, but maybe you need to have more boundaries with a maternal figure that is, like I said, I know toxic is pretty broad, but it's not working for you right now. You need to have boundaries, okay? So that could be it. But this could also be that we need to heal our own. If you are like, you're in this maternal figure to someone else, then this might mean that we need to kind of heal ourselves from maybe some of our own toxic parenting or our own toxic mothering or that kind of thing. Like maybe you're being overbearing. And by the way, we can also equate this to pets. You are in a maternal position when you have a pet. I don't care what gender you are. But it could also be, because mother is about nurturing, right? So it could also be nurturing ourselves and being kind to ourselves and, watching over our inner child, that kind of thing. But again, it's in the shadow, so it's more so like cutting out the toxic behaviors we have towards ourselves. So it could be any one of those three, but it's saying that we need to take action on it. So we need to cut this crap out to get right to the point. We are a little bit too toxic in, toxic nurturing, like we're ignoring someone or something, or again, our inner child, or a pet, or an actual or an actual physical child. This could also be, if you don't have any of these, right? If you're like, okay, this does not resonate with inner child, or my own parent, my own mother. This could be how you take care of yourself in general. Like, guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. I just spent this is how I'm resonating with this, okay? I just spent the last hour trying to unclog my bathtub, okay, because the water is just so clogged and somebody can't come out until Monday, which is really frustrating. I don't take care. I knew this was coming. It backed up for a while, but it always just went down. It's not going down this time, okay? And so I kind of like ignored it. And so I'm not keeping up with my home. I'm not keeping up with my space, like that kind of thing. And so I could equate that, okay? So this is basically saying, like, you have to take action and take care of yourself. Stop abandoning yourself. Stop neglecting yourself. Stop smothering yourself, like that kind of thing, okay? Stop projecting onto other people or projecting onto other things. Like, so basically what this card is basically saying is you have to take responsibility when it comes to nurture yourself, your space, and again, either a parent or a child. It really could go both ways or all ways or whatever you want to say. So yeah, it definitely feels like we need to take action on that. But like I said, it could be more the literal, okay, which is you have a toxic mother and you need to put boundaries up, okay? Or you need to voice how you feel, or, express that the behavior is unacceptable, like whatever's going on in your situation. Or like I said, it could be you need to stop neglecting and actually start nurturing yourself and whatever that encompasses, right? In my situation, I could see how this applies to my space, because I'm not gonna lie to you guys, there's about 10 other things that I've neglected in my home, and it's not great. But I've had other things going on, but now it's time to really focus on that. But yeah, that's how it resonates with me. Hopefully that example was helpful. But yeah, if you guys have, something that resonates with you, put it down below. I would love to hear that. But yeah, it definitely just feels like enough with the toxic mothering, nurturing, neglecting, abandoning, the guilting, the shaming, all of that stuff that comes with, again, the mother in the shadow. So, all right, that was a little bit tough, but hopefully we got through with that. That makes sense. All right, issue orphaned. Oh gosh, I hate when this card comes up, but it's a part of life, guys. So feeling lost, abandoned. Speaking of abandoned, feeling lost, abandoned, feeling like we're not fitting in, not feeling like we're not being seen, not being heard, being depressed. Okay, that could also be the orphan child. So feeling lonely. I don't know if I said that, but yeah. So it's an issue. Okay, so we're having an issue with that. I mean, pretty simple. It comes, it goes, but looks like we're going to be fighting again some loneliness, some depression, some feeling left out. It also could be this week. So sending my love to you guys. It's not forever, okay? It's always temporary. All right, challenge. And I know you guys are super resilient, super flexible. You can get through it. Okay, challenge, imagination. All right, so we're having challenges and issues with, this is always, once we get through this up here, because the issues and challenges spot is not the greatest, but we're just being real here, every week can't be breezy, easy peasy lemon squeezy. So corny, but so true. Every week can't be in the flow. Every week can't be super simple, All right, anyway. All right, so we have challenges with our imagination. So we're having issues. To me, imagination could be visualization, imagining our future. Usually it means, or spirit alludes to that. Seeing the bigger possibilities, like that kind of thing. So we're having challenges doing that. Could be for a bunch of reasons. You're unsure of where you'll be in 6 months. You not even sure what you want. There could be all kinds of challenges with that, but we're having trouble kind of planning ahead, or envisioning what we want. We might be like a little lost. I mean, that definitely could be connected. Definitely could be somewhat connected to what's going on with the orphaned energy there. But yeah, so might be like, I'm not gonna lie, guys, like an existential thing kind of comes from this. Like we might be like questioning what we were so sure on before. Okay, I'm throwing that out there. This is what I'm getting intuitively. So we can be really questioning possibly something that we have either known our whole lives about ourselves or thought we wanted for ourselves our whole life or something like that, something like for a long time or like the last 6 months or like a long period of time we're not resonating with that particular thing anymore, or you don't want that particular thing anymore. There's something kind of going on there. So there's like an existential thing going on. So yeah, I would say that it might be a little bit on the major side, because an existential crisis is, at least it's the start of it. It's kind of big, so just telling you what I'm getting, guys. So hang in there. All right, we've got angel in the shadow, acting innocent or angelic to mislead others, falsely claiming to be in touch with angelic guidance. Okay. All right, so I think this has something to do with accountability mostly, because that's what I really kind of allude to with the angel, like you're like an imperfection maybe as well. So that's changing. So it feels like we're having this change of either realizing other people aren't perfect, realizing that we're not perfect, really like accepting that maybe we're finally taking accountability for some of our flaws and actually looking at them this week. So there's a lot of like shadow work that kind of comes from this, I feel like. And so we're finally, we could also be like finally taking, owning our side of the street on a particular issue that we've been having for a long time. Like how you contributed maybe to a particular situation in your life. And so you're finally kind of like taking accountability there, or, there's something here where Spirit is kind of saying like, you weren't completely innocent in this situation kind of thing. So it's asking us to look at our side of the street situation. So hopefully that makes sense, but I feel like it's a good thing. The word I also want to use here is like an integration of sorts, where, like the yin and the yang come to mind, and I know I speak of yin and yang when it comes to feminine and masculine energy, but like it's also, a little bit of good. There's no such thing as like a bad and a good person. That's why I try to stay away from like the good and the bad. We're just people. We are just very nuanced people, nuanced situations. There's no black or white, right or wrong, mostly. We have to kind of hang out in the gray areas a little bit more. And that's what this is saying here. It's like you have to hang out in the gray area a little bit more. You have to kind of like see the nuance for what it is. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, focus. Round and round. Okay, so that's usually like a pattern or a routine. Definitely skewing positive. This one definitely skews positive. So it could be saying focus on a routine, focus on a habit, focus on doing a repeated behavior to make it a habit, focus on your everyday, getting what you need to get done every day, repeating the habit every day, like that kind of thing. So it's just saying make repeated behavior a priority. All right, what do we need to reflect on? We need to reflect on persistence. Okay, so this is about not giving up. This is about going the distance, I guess I could say. This is about being persistent at AF, which means, maybe it means badgering, but like, the thing that I think of is like somebody going after their goal. They're like persistent, like they don't, or like if you're in sales, if anybody's ever worked in sales before, you're persistent, you kind of like won't, like you're like badgering them, right? I don't want to say not taking no for an answer, but sort of, okay? Okay, so reflect on your relationship to this. Maybe you're not persistent. Maybe there are areas in your life where you can be more persistent, where you really need to go the distance, where you can't give up. Okay, that maybe you've been thinking about like resurrecting like an old dream of yours or an old goal of yours. This is definitely something to reflect on, because maybe you really wanted it and just kind of gave up a little too early. You weren't persistent enough. So yeah, so this is kind of reflecting on your relationship to it, reflecting on the things that maybe you weren't persistent enough with, that kind of thing. All right, responsibilities. We have Knight, loyalty, romance, and chivalry, a love of honor. Okay, so being loyal, likable, people, when it's in the light, it's sometimes about like someone coming in and saving, but maybe not so much with this energy. It feels like, so it's under responsibility, so it's saying your responsibilities are to be loyal, honorable, likable, a stand-up person, like the energy that I'm getting is like a stand-up citizen. So basically, you know, be like a good citizen in your community, I would say. You know, honor your elders. Be a servant of your kingdom, like that kind of thing. So that's what's coming through here. I can't think of a specific, you know, it's under responsibility. So like maybe, you know, being like the protector, being loyal to your community, like maybe like maybe you're on neighborhood watch or something this week. I don't even know if those are a thing. I live in the city in a building, so I don't live in the suburbs with neighborhood watches. But yeah, so it's basically just like being of service to community, service to family possibly, which is interesting coming from the action needed, where it feels like we have to be a little bit more independent, and so it's kind of conflicting in a way. So really interested how the Knight would show up for some people, that archetype in responsibilities. But yeah, it just feels like you're here to like serve the kingdom, and be a good, you know, be honorable, be a stand-up citizen, be loyal, that kind of thing. I said a loyal like a million times, but all right, guys, these have been tough ones. All right, let's keep going. All right, money and finances. Yes, finally a good one for this one, because money, finances, and career has been a little on the interesting side, or leaning negative. Okay, building blocks. This is so good for entrepreneurs. If you own your own thing, doing a side hustle, side business, entrepreneurial contract, freelance, anything like outside of like the norm of like working in a career job, so to speak. Or kind of more so a, you know, working for someone, it really fares well, because this is basically saying that you're building something, especially for new people that want to branch off and do this, but also it feels like you are setting the foundation, maybe, like I just see like money falling, in my mind's eye, essentially. So it just feels like the more you set a foundation, the more you continue to put into your business, side hustle, whatever it actually is, the more you will get out of it. Like the money will come. So I like this. And again, it's really good for people that have been entrepreneurial and doing the side hustle, and people that are new to it as well. So either way. But yeah, definitely if you're starting it, this is a great week to start it. To start something, or even start something new. Maybe you sell jewelry and you want to, you know, you've only been selling bracelets, now you want to sell rings, okay? You know, whatever it is. So it's a good week to like start something new and branch off with something like a different product or whatever, because the money will definitely follow. As far as my career people, you might be building a foundation with like a new manager or a new boss, or you might be building a foundation with like a new client, or you could be building something new at work. Like maybe there's a new exciting project where you could start building something, you know, maybe you're a new engineer, you don't have to be new, an engineer, and you're building a new building or something, or, you know, a new project comes along, it's very exciting. And I would say even that means that that new project is going to be lucrative for you. So anything new happening this week at work or you're working on something new, or new partnerships, or you're building something new, or setting a foundation to something, is all going to be financially lucrative. I'm so happy we finally have a really positive one for money, finances, and career. It's been a little murky, but yeah, this is definitely looking good. I like this there. All right, surprise, we have centered. Okay, so you're going to be surprisingly centered. I mean, I think that's good. So you're going to be surprisingly calm, non-reactive. Got your nervous system in place and all good, present, grounded, all of those good things. And so I will say it is a good, it is a positive thing. However, it coming up in the surprise slot here makes me feel like something is going to happen that is going to try to move you off center, if you know what I'm saying, like a hurricane. Okay? So watch out for whatever doesn't go your way, okay? Stay centered, and I know you guys will. I think we surprised ourselves, basically. I don't know, did anybody, guys, I'm chronically online these days, so did anybody see that video of the father who had the children, his little girls go into the woman, he went into the women's room, and then somebody had a problem with that, and they were like, calling the police on him, and it was like this whole thing. If not, look into it. I think it happened in Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, the father stayed so calm and centered, okay? So that's the feeling that I'm getting here from that. It's like the guy was yelling at him, the kids were crying a little bit, he kept his cool for his kids. There's a lot of pressure in the situation, but again, the father kept his cool. So kudos to the father, but that's the kind of energy we're going for here in this hurricane centered. All right, friends. We got victim in the shadow, playing the victim for positive feedback in the form of pity, inability to maintain personal boundaries. Okay, guys. So this is another thing of taking accountability, I feel like. So this is basically saying, like, this makes me feel like what I talked about with the angel card up there has something to do with either your community, your family, or your friends. Okay, so I didn't get a specific area of life up there, but now getting this in the shadow, the victim in the shadow and the friends, there's something where we are continuing to act like the victim in the situation without seeing somebody else's perspective or another person's side, or realizing maybe where we were wrong, or we didn't get something right, or whatever it actually is. Also, guys, I know I have to do this every time. Disclaimer: if you were a victim of a crime, that is something completely different, okay? I don't expect you to do this with it, like if you're in an abusive relationship, okay? Or something like that, all right? So just keep in mind what this means when the victim word comes up. It's more so like we're creating a victim, not, and we could have been a victim, but this is about victim mentality. We're talking about mentality here, if that makes sense. So yeah, so this is about like saying like, you're not, if you're not wrong about something, you won't take accountability in the relationship for your part, etc. So yeah, so that's going on. However, the change is that things do change. So I don't think it'll be like that for long, but I think you're going to kind of start getting out of the victim mentality when it comes to family, friends, community. Okay, so something's going on here, guys. Something is going on, okay? Because also, again, we have the shadow of the mother that we need to take action on. Oh, brother. This is a lot of family stuff. This is a lot of family stuff, a lot of friend stuff. So, yeah, we've got some... I'm shocked. I know we still have 4 cards left, but I'm wondering if the mending card will come up. Because there is some relationship again, either to family, friend, or community, that feels like each party has been pointing fingers. You're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem. But I feel like that is starting to finally get resolved. It's not going to be resolved this week, I will say that, since we have like the kind of the back and forth energy. But yeah, something is changing. Okay, let me keep going. Let's see if I get anything else with that. All right, romantic connection, blessed. Okay, so you're just feeling very grateful for your partner, grateful for, the things you have with your partner, whether it's a home, whether it's children, or whatever it actually is. There's not too much more I can say here. My single people, I will say, just feeling blessed that you're grateful for your life. Single people, there's this thing out there where people think that single people can't be happy because they're always kind of like looking for a relationship. Not true. There's a lot of things that you can be grateful for when you're single. Some people even like the lifestyle, like myself. And so just a lot of gratitude for life in general. Maybe you're finding the gratitude in maybe your past relationship, feeling grateful for them and what they taught you, that kind of thing. All right, what's important? So many things are important. But, okay, so you're shedding old skin. So it's important that you let it go. So a version of you is, you have to let go of a version of you. And that makes sense when it comes to what was going on in Challenge, because, like I said, I was feeling like maybe like a little bit of an existential crisis. So if you thought that you were this one layer and then the layer gets shedded off, what is this new layer, right? So I do feel like it's a little bit of like feeling like you don't know who you are and that you're a new person, but you're not quite sure who this new person is. So, yeah. But it's important to let the skin come off, is basically what Spirit is saying. Okay, we have Lover in the shadow, obsessive passion that harms others, self-destructive devotion. Okay. Okay. Under health and wellness, I don't love this here. So basically, I always think of wasn't there, I think there is didn't a horror movie just come out about this kind of topic where people are in love obsession, and it's called Obsession? Let me know down below. I don't watch horror movies, but I'm pretty sure a horror movie just came out with that, and it's about a guy makes a wish that this girl would be obsessed with him, and she becomes obsessed with him, and it's a horror story. I don't know what happens, but you can put two and two together there. But anyway, so this is about being obsessive about something, that you love something so much that you obsess. What comes to mind here in health and wellness? Over-exercising. Overdoing it. Okay? Overdoing it on the wellness stuff. Taking 40 supplements. Taking 100 supplements. By the way, it's not good for your liver. Okay? And I got very toxic on a supplement. Okay? I got very toxic on B6. Okay, I won't go super into it, but I think I've said it before, but yeah, that's part of my issue. Going overboard in the health and wellness space. That's all I'll say, okay? So Spirit is asking us to really kind of cool it or be aware of it. Okay, and see how it's harming you, where you kind of need to pump the brakes, that kind of thing. All right, overall outcome, we have community. Okay. So at least towards the end of the week, it's going to feel like you're more in community. So I like that, okay? Especially after, like I said, something weird is going on between the mother in the shadow, angel in the shadow, victim in the shadow. Okay, while still trying to show up for your community with the knight, right? That's in responsibilities. Again, community, friend group, family, it could also be, okay? So there's something going on, but I definitely feel like we are within that, again, community, family, or friends. We are trying to work something out, and the way it's being worked out is someone's putting up boundaries, someone is taking ownership for their side of the street. So it definitely feels like it's going in the direction of resolution. Okay, especially since we have the community here now, because it's saying like, you know, in harmonious community. Okay, so you're gonna feel a little bit better by the end of the week, even if it's rocky during the week. Okay, does that make sense? All right, guys, be prepared for family, community, and friend stuff to come up. Be prepared. All right, you heard it here first, okay? But like I said, there's light at the end of the tunnel by the weekend. So, all right, guys, I like this week. It's not terrible. It's not terrible, but there's some shadow work, some shadow things that we need to kind of work out. But that's all right. We're zen, right? That's what the hurricane center is. So we're gonna be surprisingly zen, which is great. So maybe I'll put that as the title, surprisingly zen. All right, I talk too much. Have a good one, guys. See you in the next one. Bye.